pizza. I love pizza. I'm gonna make some epic, tasty pizza with you today, and it's so simple. It only requires about 3 minutes of your time to prepare, and then a lot of kids around, or if you just want to make it with your husband or partner, or just for yourself, that's no worries, but get someone involved if you want to help you make amazing pizza, amazing toppings, and I'm going to show you the entire process now. For pizza, you only need a few ingredients. We're going to start straight away. I always warm up my yeast first with some water. I just put some water in, and you can just use normal cold tap water. Then I'm going to pop in some dry active yeast. Now, if you are at home and you're using fresh yeast, no worries. Just double whatever I use in my recipes. That's actually for any recipe where you require yeast. I use the dry active tiny yeast granules. Try to stay away from these little balls because they're not as good and they don't actually submerge well. So I'm just going to pop them in next to the blade because it's easier and then they don't stick to the blade. And then you're just going to warm that up straight away. About 2 minutes, and then I'm going to see you for the next part. Next, I'm going to pour in some flour. I actually use 00 flour for traditional Italian pizza. The 00 flour is essentially like a plain flour. It is less protein. It means that you essentially can create a slightly chewier pizza, thin crust but chewier. If you were to use a strong white flour, it would feel a bit more bread-like, and I don't really like that when I make pizza. I like a really nice, soft, chewy pizza, and that's why I use 00 flour. If you don't have 00 flour, just use plain flour if you can only find that in the supermarket. A little bit of oil, nice extra virgin olive oil, because it adds a bit of flavor and it also adds a bit of texture to your pizza. It gives it a bit of nice color when it goes in the oven. And of course some salt. I use sea salt. You can use any salt you like. You can use pink salt, for example. It does a really good job, but I like my sea salt. And then we're just gonna knead it, and really that's it for pizza. Okay, so we're kneaded now. We're kneaded. Our need to knead is fulfilled. So our pizza dough is finished, and what you could do is you could either just leave it now in the bowl to rise and double in size. This is how it should look. I'll just give you a quick look at that. Okay, so that is your pizza dough, and it looks fabulous. I really like the texture. The flour really adds a lovely, it's almost like a little bit more elastic through that flour, so it's wonderful. But if you knead your bowl in the meantime, you might be making a tomato sauce for the base, then all you need to do is really just pop it into one of my cool serve bowls. I do have those and use them all the time. You just pop them right in and leave the dough in there. They will insulate the heat and basically act as a really nice, almost like a prover for you to put in your dough and keep proving it at the same temperature it needs to be, so that when you take it back out, you have the right temperature. All you need to do is pop your lid on, leave that in there, and I'll see you once that dough is proofed and finished. We are now here on my pizza station. I call it my dedicated pizza station because I feel like this is where you need to do the main dough work, really. And the pizza dough has been resting for quite a while. I'm going to show you what it looks like now. I kept it inside my bowl and it definitely doubled in size, looking gorgeous. That's what you want. You want a really nice rise on your pizza. And then all you need to do is pop some flour down, and then we're going to tip our dough onto the surface using a dough scraper if you can, and you can find that dough scraper in the description below. And then we're just going to pop it out, and you could weigh this on your actual Thermomix mixing bowl to make the exact portions, but if you feel like you're a good estimator, just estimate the portions. This will probably be about 3 pizzas, or 2 really large pizzas, or 1 massive tray baked pizza. If you are one family of sharing things a lot, that's cool as well. And just add a little bit extra flour, and then we're going to cut it up and divide it. Now that I've cut it up, I literally just pop my fingers to essentially create a bit of a round shape. Do this always on a floured surface because it's much easier. And you're sort of going from the outside to the inside to create a nice round shape. And then I just take in my hands, widen it slightly. You don't have to widen it too much. It totally depends how thin you like your pizza and how thick you like your crust, you know. I do it in my hand, you can do it on the surface, however you feel, and then you already have your wonderful pizza shape done. I then get a tray, and I tend to oil my tray. I tend to not use any greaseproof paper underneath because I find that the pizza gets more crusty if you just oil your tray a little bit and then pop it on in the oven on a really, really high heat. If you're lucky enough to have a pizza stone, make sure you preheat your pizza stone a little bit before you take out your dough to divide up. It should ideally preheat in the oven at the highest temperature for a good hour before you're using it. I'm going to go with the pizza setting on my oven, so let's see how that one goes. Let's pop our pizza onto our oil tray, and you do that by flipping it onto your hands and then slowly dropping it into your prepared tray, making sure that it fits nicely. You don't have any edges that are too thin. Remember, once it's in, and actually if you've oiled it, you won't be able to move it that much anymore, so I just leave it as it is right now. Then I'm going to start with my toppings, and I'm going to go with a bit of nice tomato passata. You can obviously create your own tomato sauce if you like. I just always advise not to use too much and leave a nice little gap for your crust, because you want a little bit of a crust, and just divide that up. You can now go for any toppings you like. You could also go for a cream-based pizza if you like a cream-based pizza. I'm such a fan of tomatoes. Currently, because I'm pregnant, I'm craving tomatoes basically all day long, so I'm going to be not shy with the tomato stuff today. And then you can pop on some mozzarella. I just tend to use buffalo mozzarella because it's a really, really good quality mozzarella that isn't too watery and actually melts just right when you are baking pizza. You just rip it. You don't have to be too modest with it. You can just go, don't be conservative, just rip it, pop it on. That's what the Italians do. That's what we want to do. Wish I was Italian. I have an Italian name, so maybe that's just in me, you know, something like that. But I just rip it, pop it on, and make sure it's everywhere. Love my cheese. Really nice. And it just looks really good as well when it's ripped. And then I'm going to pop on a little bit of basil. I'm going to keep mine very simple today. You could of course do a lot more with your pizza. Spinach, salami, ham, you could do pineapples, anything really. And I'm just going to pop on some basil. Just like that. And I will also pop on a tiny bit of oregano and then give it a light little oiling on around the edges so that you get really nice crust, and then we're going to pop it in the oven. And so this guy's going to just go into the oven now. It's oiled, it's topped, it's ready. And we're going to pop it into the oven in the middle shelf. If you can get your oven up to 250, that's perfect. As soon as the pizza is in the oven, you can turn it down to 230. If it only goes up to 230, no worries as well. And I'm going to pop it in and bake my pizza perhaps for about between 6 and 15 minutes. It depends on your oven really. It depends if you have used a stone, depends if you have a special pizza oven. On a stone, it tends to actually bake much faster than in a normal domestic oven, but just try it and see how you go. Keep an eye on it. It's a wonderful process to watch, and I'm going to show you how that tastes in a second. Pizza's done. Pizza time! So I'm really excited. I feel like I always dance when I go to my oven. So this is perfectly baked, amazing, quick and easy pizza that you can make at home in such a short space of time. So while my pizzas are cooking, I sort of judge sometimes when I've got my pizza evening, how much more pizza can we actually take tonight? And sometimes I have dough left over. So what I tend to do, instead of obviously chucking it, and instead of making a bread with it, I just cut it up in pieces and make myself some lovely garlic dough balls, which I could either use in the same evening, or I could use them the next day, just bake them, use them the next day when you have a bit of a pasta feast perhaps and you just want some dough balls. I obviously give it an extra kick and I add some cheese that I literally just slot inside, roll it around and then pop it on a tray, and here are my dough balls. You could also, of course, use up your mozzarella if you have any leftover mozzarella, and just take a tiny bit of that mozzarella. Make sure your hands are dry afterwards, so wearing an apron is really useful. and then you just roll them up and pop them right onto your tray. Bake that for a couple of minutes in the oven and your dough balls are ready, and it's just a perfect little snack. In between, you can dip it into some garlic butter, or you could serve it the next day with your pasta, or whichever you like. You can even freeze those guys once they are actually cooked. You can cook them almost and then freeze them, or cook them fully and then defrost them and heat them up in the oven for a couple of minutes. So a really cool trick, just to make sure you don't waste any of that lovely pizza dough. So, done. Pizza is ready and I am hungry, so I'm just going to cut it up. You can now serve this any way you like, on a board for everyone, or on plates if you have plates that big. And then I'm going to give you a little taster of what this pizza looks like. I love the way that looks. I like it when it's slightly sloppy at the front and then really nice and crunchy, chewy crust at the back. This is exactly what you want in a proper nice pizza. So let's try it. Jeez. So that's a proper pizza. And if you want to make this at home, or you want to make those epic garlicky or cheesy, whichever you like, dough balls, make sure you follow this recipe. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm going to probably have another bite in a second, and while I have a bite, you guys go and have a lovely pizza night alla Italia, and I'll see you next time in another video.